Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Bitcoin. We're going to be looking at the second week of holding, or at least trying to hold, the 20-week moving average. So if you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel. Please give the video a thumbs up, and also do check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in. So, we've been following this Bitcoin move here, right? We saw the dump last week to the 20-week moving average. We had a wick here on this candle. If we zoom all the way in, you can see we had a wick that went identically down to the 20-week moving average, right? And at the time, it was around 98.20. Now, one of the things we've spoken about before, though, right, is that because the price has been so bullish over the last few weeks, the 20-week moving average is going to continue to move up, right? So with this in mind, in order for weekly candles to be closing above the 20-week consistently for at least the next several weeks, the price that Bitcoin needs to continue to move up, slowly, right? It needs to move up slowly. Because if it doesn't, right, if Bitcoin were to say go to 10K, let's say it goes down to this level and then it just moves sideways, well, then the 20-week moving average, right, is probably going to come above it. So this is something we have to keep an eye out for. Now, if you go back and look at let's go back and look at the BLX, right? So, and let's zoom in over here, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna look to see what happened during the last cycle. Now that we're potentially in that same realm of the market cycle, right? We don't know. The 20-week could be broken, and we could kick the can down the road, so to speak, and maybe test it again in 6 months. But let's say that it does hold, right? Let's say that we get that 3-year bull market or something that we're hoping for, or multi-year bull market, and that this is the time where it really gets kicked off, right? You have to have the three things. We've talked about the golden cross. We had that. We're above the 20-week, so it's getting above the 20-week, and then at some point we have to come back down to it, test it as support, and then we can continue on up. And you can look to see at the last cycle, that's exactly what happened, right? We came above the 20-week, and then we came back down to the 20-week. It was a 21% drop back to the 20-week moving average. Then from that point, we held it as support, right? And if you look to see how long we held it as support, it was approximately 16 weeks. So we're talking almost 4 months where the price just slowly went up by about 20%. Now, the present day, right, and what happened when it got up to 20%? Okay, if you look, we see it went up 20%, 21.57%. Let's remove that. What happened? Well, it went slowly back to the prior local top, right? So if you draw a line at this local top here, let's take it from the tops of the candles and go across, you can see that Bitcoin came up, right, hit the top, came back down, tested it a couple times, came down to the 20-week, super scary time, right? Super scary time. And then ultimately went back up to that local high, right? It had another retest almost immediately where it went back up. It must have gone back up around 20% here. And then it came back down to the 20-week, right? And continued on up, back to the top, back to the 20-week, and then breakthrough. So it ultimately was the convergence of this local top that it tested several times and the 20-week moving average. So for me, right, we know that it might not hold. We already know that it could not hold, and if it doesn't hold, we're likely heading down. We know that the 50 week is currently at 87.58, the 100 week is at 77.18, and the 200 week, which tends to be our last stop, and maybe we'll have a wick below, but it tends to be our bottom, right, is currently at 66.25. But remember, back in December of 2018, so almost 2 years ago, our 200-week moving average was closer to around 3,100, 3,200. So it's doubled. It's more than doubled over the last couple of years. Now that we're here, right, if we were to emulate the last cycle, which we don't know if it will, we don't know if it's going to emulate it or not, but let's suppose that it did. Okay, let's suppose that it did and talk about what might happen, right? So here's our local top of approximately $12,000. You can see we tested it here, we tested it again. Let me remove some of these other moving averages. Okay, so we see it. We tested it back over here. Back in July, we came up to 12K, back down, back up to 12K again, tested it 12K again over here. But this one was, again, I mean, so this was July 2019. This was our more or less our local top, right? And this was a much further back, right? So I really shouldn't go this far back if we want to compare the exact move. But you can see that this was more or less our local top even last summer. So this does seem like like a big resistance point, right? We're still fighting this resistance point. But if, let's say, we zoom in, okay, let's draw a line. Let's remove this all the way back to 2019. So let me go ahead and grab it. So we're going to grab it. We're going to move it all the way back here. Now we're going to zoom in to the recent times. And we see that 12K was our local top, right? And then we came back down to the 20-week moving average, right? So we're holding support so far on the 20-week. If we were to emulate, what happened last cycle, maybe what would happen, right, is over the next 4 months. So let's take a price move or a time move of 4 months, so 16 weeks. Then we go up. There's 16 weeks right there. Then let's suppose that the 20-week is going to continue to slowly move up like this, maybe, something like that. Probably shouldn't draw it moving down, but let's just suppose it does something like this, something more or less like this. And I don't even necessarily think it'll go out to that point. But if we draw just to say the 16 weeks or so, let's say it says something like that, then what we might do over the next few months, right, is maybe we test the 20-week for a while. We come back up to 12K, it says nope. We come back down, maybe back down to 10.5. I don't know, but maybe it tests it somewhere in this region, so that over the next 16 weeks, maybe we slowly build up that 21.7% back up to 12K, right? Which is still similar to what happened during the last cycle, right? We came up around 21%, back up to that local top. It was the convergence of the 20-week and that local top that ultimately led us breaking above it, right? And once we broke above it, so let's take another measured move here. Let me delete this one. We're going to take another measured move from this point here. Well, let's take it from here, and we go up. It went up 73%. So this was quite the move, because we went from $400 up to 725 or so, maybe 740, and then we came back down. And where did we come back down to? We came back down to the 20-week moving average. And when we did come back down, it was another 25% drop. So this cycle, we expect decreased volatility. I don't expect things to be as crazy as the last cycle. So let's suppose most bullish scenario, right? Some of you might think that the most bullish scenario is just coming up to 20K immediately. I don't think this would be the most bullish in terms of the macro scale. Remember, we're looking at the macro scale. So I think the thing that would make Bitcoin, super bullish over the next few years would be to see it hold the 20-week and slowly move back up to 12K, right? And then break out, or maybe the 20-week and 12K converge. This would be the most bullish scenario, because it's essentially saying, you know what? We have the golden cross, we're above the 20-week, we're holding it as support. As the 20-week continues to go up, right, to the price continues to slowly go up as well. And so what this says is there's, the bulls are coming out to play whenever the 20-week gets called into question, right? And if we see this happen week after week, so if we see the bulls come to play every time we test the 20-week, they come out in strong numbers, they fight the friendly neighborhood bears off, and we keep moving up, right? Slower move back up to 12K. Maybe even we get lucky. Maybe we come back to 12K in the short term and then come back down, right? But ultimately, hopefully this is a strong test of the 20-week. I don't want it to just be like a 1-week test, right? I don't want it to just be a 1-week test of the 20-week and then we go back up. I want to see week upon week, maybe even a couple months, maybe 3 months, maybe 4 months of the 20-week holding as support to really get that confidence, right? That the market cycle of the bull run is really getting underway. Arguably, the bull run has already been underway for a number of months, right? And in hindsight, we could look back and say, yeah, the bull run started, such and such point when we got above the 20-week, and then we look back and we see we didn't break up below it for a few years. This is a possibility, of course. But right now, we don't know that that's the case. You can see that back in 2019, we were above the 20-week for, here we were above the 20-week for 189 days or 27 weeks, and then we failed to hold it as support. And this felt very bullish for a long time, and then ultimately became bearish, and then we came back down below. The last time we were above it, we were only above it for 7 weeks, maybe 8 weeks before falling below. And then now, at present day, we've been above it for 18 weeks. So we're kind of somewhere in between this one and this one. But I would say, what we would really like to see to confirm, a really a strong bull market where we're going to continue to go up, where Bitcoin will slowly make stronger moves back to its prior all-time high. What we want to see is a strong retest of the 20-week, not just a wick down in hindsight, right? Not just a single candle down, we test it and we go back up. What I would like to see is a continued test and a continued slow move up by Bitcoin back to 12K. Once we break 12K, or if we do get to 12K, then we start to move back up, and then maybe we go up to the 14K regime, right? Which would be another 20% move up, and then maybe we spend some time in that region, okay? So you can imagine we move up, and by the way, this would be if it emulated last cycle. It could take longer, right? But then let's say we then move back up to 14K, and then we move sideways for a while at around 14K, and then maybe we go up to 16, 18K, and then move sideways for a while. And then at the end of 2021, we start testing 20K, we get rejected, come back down, maybe test it again, maybe get rejected again, and then later on we break through it. Something like that, okay? This would be a very bullish scenario for Bitcoin, right? Because it means that the people that are waiting to get back in below say 9K, they might not get the opportunity to do so. Obviously we could go into bubble mode at any time. You always have to be prepared for that. But again, what I'm showing in this video primarily is, what would bring that confidence to the market, right? What would make those other coins like Ethereum really start to shine again, right? They saw a pretty nice retracement. But again, nothing really has changed. Bitcoin's still above the 20-week. I think that market sentiment even here can change on a dime. Like Bitcoin could go back to 12K, and it's just business as usual, right? We continue moving on up. Things change, again, when you see those weekly candle closes below the 20-week. This is when these other coins really start to not do so well, and they continue to bleed against Bitcoin week after week over the macro scale for most coins. Okay, so this is what you want to look out for. Altcoins are certainly very risky right now, just because of how our proximity to the 20-week moving average. But then again, crypto is always risky to some degree. But I would say that purchasing altcoins right now is certainly you're taking on a lot of risk, right? Because if we fall below the 20-week and we kick the can down the road, this means that a lot of these coins are not going to fare so well. So I think that'll wrap it up for the video. Remember to check out the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com if you guys like the content and want access to more of it. I know I dropped off the radar for a day or so hopefully I'm back here and ready to continue on. But make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.